Welcome, friend. Take a moment to settle into your space. Adjust your pillow, pull the covers up to your chin, and let the weight of the day begin to drift away. We are going on a quiet journey tonight, a slow, peaceful traversal across every corner of our planet. From the icy reaches of the north to the vibrant tropics, we will explore the quiet wonders of the world, one gentle fact at a time. There is no rush. There is nothing you need to do, but listen and let your mind wander. Feel the mattress supporting you. Let your breathing find its own natural, easy rhythm. Before we begin our ascent into the high latitudes, I invite you to join our sleepy community by subscribing. If these quiet stories help you find rest, it would be lovely to have you with us for every journey we take. But for now, just breathe slow and steady. We begin in the far north, where the air is crisp and the light lingers long into the evening. We find ourselves first in Iceland, a land of fire and ice. It is a curious thing, but in this volcanic island nation, there are no mosquitoes. While they thrive in almost every other corner of the globe, Iceland's unique climate, with its rapid, unpredictable freeze-thaw cycles, prevents the insects from completing their life cycle. It is a place of rare silent stillness, where the wind across the lava fields is the only sound you might hear. Eastward, across the cold North Atlantic, we reach Norway. This is a land carved by ancient glaciers, famous for its deep, narrow fjords. But beneath the surface of its inland waters lies something equally profound. Hornindalsvatnet is the deepest lake in all of Europe, reaching down 514 meters. Its waters are incredibly clear, fed by mountain runoff and protected by the surrounding peaks, holding a silent world of deep blue that remains undisturbed by the winds above. Next door, in Sweden, the landscape breaks apart into a mosaic of land and water. You might be surprised to learn that Sweden possesses more islands than any other country in the world. There are over 267,000 of them, most are tiny, uninhabited outcrops of granite topped with pine trees, scattered like emeralds across the Baltic Sea. Imagine drifting on a small boat through these endless archipelagos, where the only neighbor is the distant cry of a seabird and the gentle lap of water against the stone. Further east lies Finland, often called the land of 1,000 lakes, though there are actually closer to 188,000. But it is the air here that truly stands out. According to global environmental data, Finland consistently enjoys some of the cleanest air on the planet. The vast boreal forests act as a great green lung, filtering the world and providing a breath that feels cool, pure, and restorative. Imagine standing in a Finnish forest, breathing in that scent of damp earth and evergreen, feeling your lungs expand with perfect clarity. Finally, we look to Denmark, the gateway to the south. Here, history stretches back in an unbroken line. The Danish monarchy is one of the oldest in the world, tracing its roots back over 1,000 years to the Viking kings. It is a steady presence, a golden thread through centuries of change, rooted in the flat, fertile lands and the salt spray of the North Sea. As the northern lights begin to fade behind us, we leave the Nordic chill behind. We are beginning to move south now, drifting toward the heart of the continent, where the coastlines grow longer and the history grows even more layered. The air is warming just a fraction as we glide toward the Atlantic coast. As we drift further south, The mist of the North Sea gives way to the vast rhythmic pulse of the Atlantic Ocean. We find ourselves hovering over the British Isles, where the land meets the sea in a complex, beautiful embrace. You might imagine that a coastline has a fixed, simple length, but the United Kingdom teaches us something different about the nature of geography. Because of its incredibly jagged edges, deep bays, and thousands of tiny inlets, the UK's coastline is surprisingly long, over 12,000 miles. If you were to walk along every curve and cove, you would find a landscape that seems to expand the closer you look. It is a fractal world of salt spray, ancient cliffs, and hidden beaches, where the tide comes in and goes out with a slow, dependable breathing motion. Just to the west, we find the Emerald Isle, Ireland. It is a place of legendary green, kept vibrant by the soft Atlantic rains. One of the most curious things about this land is what it lacks. There are no snakes in Ireland. While folklore tells of a saint driving them away, the scientific reality is found in the deep history of the earth. During the last ice age, Ireland was far too cold for any cold-blooded reptiles to survive. When the glaciers finally retreated and the world warmed, the rising sea levels cut Ireland off from mainland Europe before the snakes could migrate back across the land. Today, it remains a quiet sanctuary, where the fields are silent of slithering things, and the only sound is the wind moving through the long, damp grass. Moving across the channel, we reach the broad expanse of France. While we often think of it as a single piece of the European heartland, France actually holds a world record that might surprise you. Because of its many overseas territories scattered across the globe, from the Caribbean to the Indian Ocean and the South Pacific, France spans 12 different time zones. This is more than any other country on Earth, even more than the vast stretches of Russia or the United States. Somewhere in the world, the sun is always shining on a piece of French soil, even as the lights go out in the quiet streets of Paris. It is a reminder of how interconnected our planet truly is, and how the concept of time is merely a soft human layer draped over the turning of the earth. Tucked along the sun-drenched coast of the Mediterranean lies the tiny principality of Monaco. It is a place of immense density and beauty, yet it is so small that its entire territory covers less than 1 square mile. In fact, you could walk across the entire country from one border to the other in about an hour. Imagine a slow evening stroll through its manicured gardens and quiet, narrow streets, looking out over the harbor where the water is as still as glass. It is a miniature world, perfectly contained and peaceful. Higher up, nestled in the rugged peaks of the Pyrenees Mountains between France and Spain, we find Andorra. This small nation has a governance as unique as its mountain air. Since the year 1278, it has been a co-principality, meaning it is ruled by 2 princes. Neither of them is actually from Andorra. One is the Bishop of Urgell in Spain, and the other is the President of France. It is a rare, ancient arrangement that has allowed this mountain refuge to remain independent and tranquil for centuries, tucked away in the high, rocky valleys. As we linger here for a moment, let the stillness of these mountain peaks settle over you. Take a slow, deep breath in, and as you exhale, Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Feel the weight of your body sinking deeper into the mattress, as if the bed were a soft cloud supporting you completely. The day is behind you now, and the world is large, quiet, and safe. The air is beginning to change again. We are leaving the salty breeze of the Atlantic and the Mediterranean behind. Turning our gaze toward the interior, we are moving toward the high, snow-capped peaks and the deep, ancient forests that form the very center of the continent. The journey continues, moving softly toward the mountains. As we move into the heart of the continent, the air grows crisp with the scent of pine and damp earth. Germany is a land defined by its forests. Nearly 1/3 of the country is covered in a deep, lush canopy of green. Imagine the Black Forest, where the trees grow so thick they create a natural, quiet sanctuary. These woods have inspired legends for centuries, yet today they remain a peaceful lung for the continent, where the only sound is the soft rustle of leaves in the wind. In the quietest parts of these forests, the moss is so thick it muffles every footstep, creating a world of absolute silence. Further south, the landscape rises into the majestic, snow-dusted peaks of the Swiss Alps. Switzerland is a country of precision and stillness. Even its national flag reflects this. It is one of only 2 sovereign states in the world with a perfectly square flag. This simple, balanced shape is a symbol of neutrality and steady calm, mirroring the quiet, mirror-like surfaces of the alpine lakes that reflect the clouds passing slowly overhead. In these high altitudes, time seems to slow down, measured only by the distant rhythmic ringing of cowbells in the meadows. Tucked between Switzerland and Austria is the tiny mountainous principality of Liechtenstein. Despite its small size, it is a global leader in a very specific and delicate craft. For decades, it has been one of the world's primary producers of high-quality false teeth and dental ceramics. It is a place where quiet industry meets breathtaking nature, a testament to the meticulous care that can be found in even the smallest corners of our world. It is a quiet, prosperous valley where the mountains stand like silent guardians on all sides. Continuing into Austria, the mountains hold secrets deep within their rocky hearts. High above the village of Werfen lies the Eisriesenwelt, the largest ice cave system in the entire world. Inside, the air is perfectly still and chilled to a constant frost. Giant sculptures of ice, formed over thousands of years by the slow dripping of water and the freezing breath of the mountains, glow with a soft, ethereal blue light. It is a cathedral of frozen time, hidden away from the noise of the surface, where the only movement is the slow, patient growth of a crystal. To the west, we find the rolling hills of Luxembourg, a country that values the ease of movement and the breathability of its cities. In a pioneering move for the planet, Luxembourg became the first nation to make all public transportation, trains, trams, and buses, completely free for everyone. It is a place where you can simply step onto a quiet train and watch the green countryside drift by without a single worry about a ticket or a schedule, letting the rhythmic motion of the rails lull you into a state of relaxation. And then there is Belgium, a land of ancient stone squares and a surprising, colorful history of storytelling. This small nation has more comic strip artists per square kilometer than any other place on Earth. It is the birthplace of beloved characters like the Smurfs and Tintin. In the quiet streets of Brussels, you can find giant, beautiful murals painted onto the sides of buildings, turning the city into an open-air gallery of imagination. It is a reminder that even in our busy world, there is always room for a little bit of wonder and a good story before we sleep. The cool mountain air of the Alps is beginning to soften now. As we turn our gaze toward the south, the sharp peaks give way to rolling hills and the first hints of a warmer, golden light. We are leaving the high forests and frozen caves behind, moving toward the sun-drenched shores of the Mediterranean, where the pace of life slows even further. The air is becoming gentle and fragrant with the scent of wild herbs and salt spray. We are traveling toward the warmth. As we reach the Iberian Peninsula, the air grows warm and the sun seems to linger just a bit longer on the horizon. In the quiet groves of Portugal, the cork oak trees stand in patient rows under the golden light. Portugal produces about half of the world's cork, a material that is harvested without ever harming the tree itself. Every 9 years, skilled hands gently strip the thick, spongy bark, leaving the tree to regrow its protective layer in the sun. It is a slow, rhythmic cycle of nature, a harvest of patience that has continued for centuries, producing a material so light and soft it feels almost like a whisper of the forest. Moving across the border into Spain, we find a land where the air is filled with a beautiful diversity of sounds. While many know the rhythmic flow of Spanish or Castilian, the country is a mosaic of ancient languages that have flourished for generations. In the green, misty hills of the north, you might hear the unique sounds of Basque, a language unrelated to any other in the world, its origins a quiet mystery. Along the rugged Atlantic coast, Galician echoes the sea, while in the vibrant streets of the east, Catalan flourishes. It is a place where every valley has its own story and its own way of speaking to the stars, a reminder of how rich and varied our human tapestry can be. Further east, the Italian peninsula stretches like a long, graceful limb into the blue waters of the Mediterranean. Here, the very earth beneath our feet is a gift from the deep, hidden fires of the planet. Italy's volcanic soil, enriched by the ancient ash of Mount Vesuvius and Mount Etna, is some of the most fertile on Earth. It is this dark, mineral-rich ground that allows vineyards, lemon groves, and olive trees to flourish with such incredible abundance. The mountains that once breathed fire now provide the foundation for a quiet, sun-kissed life, turning the raw power of the earth into the sweetness of a ripened fruit. Nestled high on the slopes of Mount Titano, surrounded by the beauty of the Italian countryside, sits the tiny republic of San Marino. It is the oldest sovereign state and constitutional republic in the world, founded in the year 301. For over 17 centuries, this small community has maintained its independence and its peace, a quiet sanctuary of stone and history that looks out over the rolling hills toward the distant sea. It is a place of enduring stability, reminding us that some things, though small, are built to last forever. In the heart of Rome lies the smallest country in the world, Vatican City. Though it covers only about 100 acres, it possesses perhaps the highest density of art on the planet. Within its quiet walls, centuries of human genius are gathered, from the soaring dome of St. Peter's Basilica to the intricate frescoes of the Sistine Chapel. It is a place where every square inch of stone and canvas is a testament to the beauty that humans can create when they are inspired by the infinite, a silent gallery of dreams and devotion. Southward still, in the middle of the sparkling Mediterranean, we find the islands of Malta. Here, the stones themselves are ancient beyond our imagining. Malta is home to prehistoric temples that are older than the Great Pyramids of Giza, and even older than Stonehenge. These massive limestone structures, built by a people whose names have been lost to time, sit silently by the sea, their massive blocks aligned with the rising and setting of the sun. They are monuments to a deep, quiet past, standing firm against the salt air and the passage of millennia. The warm breeze now carries us away from these ancient shores. We begin to cross the calm, blue expanse of the Adriatic Sea. The water below is still and deep, reflecting the first stars of the evening as they begin to appear in the darkening sky. We are moving toward the rugged coastlines and hidden valleys of the Balkan Peninsula, where the mountains meet the sea in a quiet, dramatic embrace. As we reach the eastern shores of the Adriatic, we find ourselves drifting over the thousands of islands that make up the Greek archipelago. There are more than 6,000 islands and islets scattered like stars across the Aegean and Ionian seas. Only a small fraction of these are inhabited, leaving the rest as silent sanctuaries for the sea and the wind. On the islands where people do live, the whitewashed walls of the houses reflect the soft moonlight, standing in quiet contrast to the deep blue of the water. It is a world where the rhythm of the tide has dictated the pace of life for thousands of years, a slow and steady pulse that invites you to simply breathe and be still. Further north, the coastline gives way to the rugged, soaring peaks of the Albanian Alps. This is a land known to its people as the land of the eagles. High above the hidden valleys and silver rivers, the golden eagle makes its home among the inaccessible crags. These majestic birds glide on the thermal currents with effortless grace, their wide wings catching the last light of day. In the silence of these high places, there is a profound sense of peace, a stillness that only the mountains can provide, where the air is thin, cool, and perfectly clear. In neighboring Montenegro, the earth opens up into some of the most dramatic landscapes in all of Europe. Here lies the Tara River Canyon, a vast chasm carved by water over millions of years. It is the deepest canyon on the continent, a place of sheer limestone walls and emerald green water. At night, the canyon is a cradle of shadow, where the sound of the river is a constant, soothing hum, a natural lullaby that echoes through the ancient stone, reminding us of the slow, patient power of nature. Following the coast once more, we reach the historic ramparts of Croatia. The city of Dubrovnik is famously encircled by massive stone walls that have stood for centuries, protecting the red-roofed houses within. These walls are so well preserved and evocative of a different time that they served as the backdrop for the fictional world of King's Landing in Game of Thrones. But here, the reality is even more peaceful. The sun-warmed stone holds the heat of the day long after the sun is set, radiating a gentle warmth into the evening air as the waves lap softly against the base of the fortifications. Moving inland, we enter Bosnia and Herzegovina, a country often called the heart-shaped land because of its unique borders. It is a place of deep ancient forests and rushing turquoise rivers like the Neretva and the Una. These waters are incredibly clear, flowing through narrow gorges and over gentle, moss-covered waterfalls. The landscape itself seems to hold a quiet, nurturing energy, like a green heart beating slowly at the center of the peninsula, providing a home for deer and wolves in the deep mountain silence. Our journey through the Balkans brings us finally to the rolling hills and fertile plains of Serbia. In the quiet orchards of the Šumadija region, a significant portion of the world's raspberries are grown. In the height of summer, the air is thick with the sweet, delicate scent of ripening fruit. These small, vibrant berries are harvested with care, a testament to the bounty that the earth provides when it is tended with patience and respect. As the harvest ends and the fields grow quiet, the land settles into a deep, restful slumber. The rugged mountains of the south are now beginning to soften. The terrain is leveling out as we leave the Balkan Peninsula behind. We are moving northward toward the wide, open plains of Eastern Europe, a land of ancient forests, amber-colored shores, and hidden caves that wait silently beneath the surface of the earth. As we cross the northern borders, the air grows slightly crisper, and the landscape opens into the vast emerald plains of Poland. Along the shores of the Baltic Sea, a quiet treasure washes up on the sand after a storm. This is amber, often called the gold of the north. Unlike cold, hard stones, amber is fossilized tree resin from millions of years ago, and it feels surprisingly warm and light in the palm of your hand. If you were to hold a piece to the light, you might see a tiny fragment of an ancient world, trapped in its golden glow. It is a soft, prehistoric remnant, smoothed by the rhythmic movement of the tide, resting now in the stillness of the shoreline. Traveling southwest, we enter the rolling hills of Czechia, a land that feels as though it has been pulled from the pages of a quiet fairy tale. This country holds the highest density of castles in the world. Over 2,000 of them dot the landscape, from grand stone fortresses perched on rocky cliffs to delicate manor houses hidden in deep forests. These structures have stood for centuries. At night, when the tourists have gone and the mist settles in the valleys, these ancient walls stand in silent vigil, their stone foundations rooted deep in the earth, holding the memories of 1,000 years in the cool evening air. Just across the border, the terrain of Slovakia rises into the rugged high Tatras, but the true stillness lies beneath the surface. Slovakia is home to thousands of caves, including the rare Okhtinska aragonite cave. Inside, the walls are not covered in typical stalactites, but in delicate white formations of aragonite that look like frozen flowers or stars. It is a world of absolute silence and constant temperature, where time seems to stop. In this underground cathedral, the only sound is the occasional rhythmic heartbeat of a single drop of water falling into a dark pool, a slow pulse that has continued for millennia. In neighboring Hungary, the earth offers a different kind of sanctuary. This land sits atop a thin crust that allows the planet's internal warmth to seep upward, creating more than 1,000 thermal springs. In the town of Havies, you will find the largest swimmable thermal lake in the world. Even on a chilly night, the water remains naturally warm, wrapped in a blanket of steam that rises softly into the dark sky. To drift in these waters is to feel the weight of the world dissolve as the mineral-rich warmth cradles the body and quiets the mind. Moving toward the Baltic coast once more, we reach Lithuania, where the skyline is often punctuated by the large, messy nests of the white stork. Lithuania has the highest density of these birds in Europe, and they are welcomed as symbols of harmony and peace. They build their homes atop old chimneys and wooden poles, standing motionless on one leg as the sun sets over the meadows. Their presence is a gentle reminder of the steady, seasonal rhythms of life, of coming home to a place of safety and rest. In Latvia, the landscape is defined by the gentle flow of water. Near the town of Kuldiga, the Venta River drops over a limestone ledge to create the Ventus Rumba, the widest waterfall in Europe. It is not a thundering, crashing fall, but a long, elegant curtain of water that spans nearly 900 feet. The sound it makes is a low, steady hum, a white noise that fills the surrounding forest and lulls the local wildlife into a deep slumber. Our journey through the Baltics concludes in Estonia, a place where the future meets the ancient forest. While it is famous for its digital innovation and being the first country to offer digital citizenship, over half of Estonia is covered in wild, untouched woods and deep peat bogs. It is a place where you can step out of a high-tech city and within minutes find yourself in a mossy silence where the only company is the ancient trees. The air here is among the cleanest in the world, filling your lungs with the scent of pine and damp earth. As we leave the Baltic shores behind, the horizon begins to stretch even further. The plains are widening and the sky seems to grow larger as we turn our gaze toward the east. We are moving now toward the vastness of the Eurasian landmass, entering a realm of deep, ancient lakes, endless sunflower fields, and the quiet, steady pulse of the great northern wilderness. As we travel further into the heart of the continent, the forests of Belarus emerge from the morning mist. Here, in the ancient Belovezhskaya Pushcha, the last of the European bison roam. These are the heaviest land animals on the continent, yet they move with a surprising ghostly grace through the damp ferns and towering oaks. To see a bison in the wood is to see a living relic of the Ice Age, a quiet guardian of a forest that has remained largely unchanged for centuries. The air here is thick with the scent of moss and old bark, a heavy, grounding fragrance that settles deep in the chest and invites a sense of profound stillness. Southward, the landscape opens into the rolling plains of Ukraine. In the summer months, these fields are a sea of vibrant yellow, covered in millions upon millions of sunflowers. Ukraine is the world's leading producer of these radiant blooms, and there is something deeply peaceful about the way they follow the sun's journey across the sky during the day. As the light fades into twilight, the sunflowers bow their heads in unison, resting their heavy golden faces as the evening breeze ripples through the stalks like a gentle wave on a calm, silent ocean. The sheer scale of these golden fields, stretching toward a flat and endless horizon, creates a rhythmic pattern that is easy for the mind to follow until it drifts into a quiet hum. In the gentle hills of Moldova, the wonders are hidden deep beneath the surface. Beneath the village of Milishti Mich lies a subterranean world, the largest wine cellar in existence. These limestone tunnels stretch for over 120 miles, creating a cool, dark labyrinth where the temperature remains a constant, perfect 55 degrees year-round. Walking through these silent, stone-walled galleries feels like stepping into a sanctuary away from the noise and heat of the world, where time slows down to the pace of a single, slow-forming drop of water, and the air is perfectly still and cool against your skin. Now, we turn toward the vastness of Siberia to find Lake Baikal, the oldest and deepest lake on our planet. It is often called the Sacred Sea, and for good reason. Baikal reaches a staggering depth of over 5,000 feet, holding 20% of all the unfrozen fresh water on Earth. In the winter, the ice becomes so incredibly clear that you can look down through feet of solid crystal into the dark, silent abyss below. It is a place of profound ancient stillness, a massive reservoir of life that has existed for 25 million years, cradled by rugged mountains and whispering pine forests that hum in the wind. Beyond the mountains lies the high plateau of Mongolia, where the horizon seems to stretch into infinity. This is a land defined by the wind and the horse. In Mongolia, the horses significantly outnumber the people, roaming freely across the emerald steppes in a state of semi-wild grace. There is a deep, ancient bond between the nomadic people and these animals, a partnership born of the open air. At night, the only sound is the soft rustle of dry grass and the distant, rhythmic breathing of the herds. The sky here is so vast and the air so thin that the stars feel close enough to touch, scattered like diamonds across a heavy velvet cloak. Take a soft breath in and a slow breath out. Feel the weight of your body supported by the bed beneath you. The world is large, and it is very, very quiet. You are safe within this vastness, a small part of a grand, peaceful design that continues long after the sun goes down. As the stars begin to shift overhead, we leave the high steppes behind. We are descending now, moving away from the cold northern winds and toward the vibrant, mist-covered landscapes of East Asia, where bamboo forests and volcanic islands await in the soft, silver glow of the rising moon. The air begins to soften and warm as we drift southward into the heart of China, where the landscape is draped in an endless, undulating sea of emerald. Here, in the vast bamboo forests of the Sichuan and Yunnan provinces, the world feels muffled and sheltered. Bamboo is not a tree, but a giant resilient grass, and it holds a quiet, persistent energy. Some species can grow as much as 3 feet in a single day, reaching toward the light with a rhythmic, steady focus. When the wind moves through these groves, the hollow stalks knock gently against one another, creating a natural percussion that sounds like a distant wooden chime. The floor of the forest is a soft carpet of fallen leaves, damp and fragrant, where the giant panda moves with slow, deliberate grace, spending its hours in a state of peaceful, rhythmic eating. There is a profound sense of seclusion here, a green sanctuary, where the outside world feels very far away. Across the shimmering waters of the East China Sea lies the Japanese archipelago, a long chain of volcanic islands that stretch like stepping stones across the deep blue of the Pacific. While we often think of the main islands, recent geological surveys using advanced mapping technology have revealed that Japan is actually comprised of over 14,000 individual islands. Most of these are tiny, uninhabited outposts of rock and pier where the only sound is the rhythmic pulse of the tide against the shore. The volcanic nature of this land means that beneath the surface, the earth is alive with warmth. This heat rises to the surface in thousands of natural hot springs or onsen, where the water is rich with minerals and the steam rises in soft white curls into the cool mountain air. It is a land of balance, the fiery energy of the earth tempered by the cool, misty breath of the sea. Further south, nestled in the strait between the peninsula and the sea, is South Korea's Jeju Island. This is a volcanic jewel formed millions of years ago by the eruptions of Mount Halasan, which sits at its center like a silent guardian. Jeju is famous for its basalt landscapes and its extraordinary lava tubes. Vast underground cathedrals of stone formed when molten rock flowed toward the sea, leaving behind hollow, echoing tunnels. Walking through these tubes, the air is perfectly still and cool, and the walls are textured with the frozen ripples of ancient fire. On the coast, the famous sea women, or Haenyeo, dive into the cold depths without oxygen tanks, moving through the water with the grace of seals. The island is a place of wind, stone, and water, where the pace of life is dictated by the turning of the tides. To the north, the terrain becomes rugged and grand, defined by the towering mountain ranges that cover 80% of North Korea. These are ancient granite peaks, often shrouded in a heavy white mist that clings to the pine-covered slopes. The most sacred of these is Mount Pagtu, a massive stratovolcano on the border with China. At its summit lies Heaven Lake, a caldera of startlingly blue water that remains frozen for much of the year. The silence at this altitude is absolute, broken only by the thin whistle of the wind over the crater's rim. It is a landscape of stark, quiet beauty, where the mountains seem to hold the secrets of the ages in their stony foundations. As we move toward the island of Taiwan, the air grows thicker and more fragrant. Here, the central mountain ranges rise sharply from the sea, their peaks often hidden within a permanent layer of swirling clouds. This unique climate, high altitude, cool temperatures, and constant moisture, is the secret behind Taiwan's world-renowned high mountain tea. On the steep slopes of Alishan and Lishan, tea bushes are meticulously tended on terraced fields that look like giant green staircases. The mist acts as a natural blanket, protecting the leaves from the harsh sun and allowing them to grow slowly concentrating their delicate flavors. When the clouds roll through the valleys, they bring a sense of profound stillness, as if the entire mountain is taking a slow, deep breath. The humidity is rising now, and the scent of damp earth and tropical blooms begins to fill the air. We are leaving the temperate highlands of East Asia behind and moving toward the lush, sun-drenched landscapes of Indochina, where ancient ruins are cradled by the roots of giant trees and the great Mekong River winds its way through a world of vibrant tropical green. As the humidity of the tropics settles around us like a soft, warm blanket, we find ourselves standing at the entrance of a hidden world in central Vietnam. Deep within the limestone heart of the Annamite Mountains lies Son Doong, the largest cave on our planet. It is a place of such immense proportions that it feels less like a cavern and more like a subterranean kingdom. The space is so vast that it has its own localized weather system. Inside the cave, clouds form near the ceiling, drifting slowly beneath the limestone roof like trapped spirits. In certain sections where the roof collapsed long ago, sunlight streams down in pillars of gold, nourishing a lush, emerald jungle that grows hundreds of feet below the Earth's surface. The sound of the underground Rao Thuong River is a constant rhythmic pulse, carving its way through the ancient stone and echoing softly into the dark, cool recesses of the earth. Following the winding path of the Mekong River, we cross into the quiet, landlocked beauty of Laos, historically known as the Land of a Million Elephants, or Lanshang. This is a place where the pace of life feels synchronized with the slow flow of the water. The elephant, a symbol of gentle strength and wisdom, has long been the guardian of these teak forests and misty highlands. In the early morning, the air is often filled with the scent of frangipani blossoms and wood smoke. As the sun rises over golden-roofed temples, the landscape is a tapestry of rugged mountains and hidden waterfalls, where the silence is only broken by the distant chime of a temple bell or the rustle of bamboo in the breeze. To the south, in the plains of Cambodia, the stone towers of Angkor Wat rise above the jungle canopy. This ancient city was designed as a terrestrial representation of the universe, and its precision is breathtaking. On the morning of the spring equinox, the sun rises in perfect alignment with the tip of the central lotus-shaped tower, a celestial dance planned nearly 1,000 years ago. Over the centuries, the jungle has attempted to reclaim the city. The massive silver roots of silk cotton trees now wrap around the stone galleries like giant, slow-moving fingers. There is a profound stillness here, a sense of time standing still as the gray sandstone soaks up the heat of the day, releasing it slowly into the cooling evening air. Further west, the coastline of Thailand reveals a different kind of wonder. Amidst the turquoise waters of the Andaman Sea, towering limestone karsts rise abruptly from the waves like ancient sea monsters turned to stone. Many of these islands hide hongs, or secret interior lagoons, accessible only through narrow sea caves that can be entered when the tide is exactly right. Inside these hidden rooms, the water is as still as a mirror, and the vertical walls are draped in hanging vines and orchids. It is a world of emerald and blue protected from the wind, where the only sound is the soft drip of water from a stalactite into the sea below. Our journey through the mainland concludes in the high, mist-covered valleys of Myanmar. In the Mogok region, the earth holds a fiery secret. For millions of years, intense heat and pressure deep within the crust have transformed simple minerals into the world's most precious rubies. These pigeon's blood stones are found in the marble soil of the valley, a geological treasure chest nestled between jagged peaks. The air here is cool and thin, and the mountains are dotted with whitewashed stupas that glow in the twilight. The scent of salt and the sound of crashing waves begin to call to us now. We are leaving the mainland behind, moving across the warm waters toward the sprawling islands of the Malay archipelago, where ancient rainforests meet the deep coral-filled secrets of the sea. The salt spray of the Andaman Sea begins to settle as we reach the lush, emerald shores of the Malay archipelago. This is a world defined by the meeting of land and water, where the air is thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming orchids. In the heart of Malaysia, the Taman Negara rainforest breathes with a rhythmic, ancient pulse. This forest is estimated to be over 130 million years old, older than the Amazon, older than the Congo, a living remnant of a time when dinosaurs still roamed the earth. Within its deep shadowed interior, the canopy is so dense that only a fraction of the sunlight reaches the forest floor. Giant dipterocarp trees, some rising over 200 feet tall, stand like silent sentinels draped in moss and lianas. The sound of the forest is a low hypnotic hum, the vibration of thousands of cicadas and the distant rhythmic call of a hornbill echoing through the heavy, humid air. Just a short distance away, the landscape shifts into the visionary skyline of Singapore. Here, the boundary between the natural world and the urban environment is intentionally blurred. In the gardens by the bay, massive super trees, vertical gardens reaching up to 16 stories high, are covered in hundreds of species of bromeliads, ferns, and tropical climbers. These structures do more than provide shade. They harvest rainwater and solar energy, acting as mechanical lungs for the city. As the sun sets, these towers glow with a soft, bioluminescent light, mirroring the stars above and creating a serene, futuristic forest that hums with the quiet efficiency of nature integrated into stone and steel. As we move further south, the sheer scale of Indonesia unfolds, a sprawling tapestry of over 17,000 islands scattered across the equator like a handful of jewels. This is the most volcanic region on Earth, where the soil is enriched by the ash of hundreds of peaks. On the island of Java, the morning mist clings to the terraced rice paddies which curve along the hillsides like green ribbons. The air here often carries the faint, sweet scent of cloves and nutmeg, spices that have drawn travelers to these shores for centuries. Indonesia sits atop the Wallace Line, a deep-water trench that serves as an invisible biological boundary. To the west, the animals are of Asian origin, while to the east, they begin to resemble the unique fauna of Australasia. It is a place of profound transition, where the deep blue of the Java Sea meets the turquoise shallows of hidden coves. To the north, the Philippines offers a hidden world beneath the surface of the earth. On the island of Palawan, the Puerto Princesa underground river winds through a spectacular limestone cave system before emptying into the South China Sea. Drifting into the mouth of the cave in a small wooden boat, the temperature drops, and the sounds of the outside world fade into a rhythmic drip of water hitting stone. The cave walls are adorned with massive stalactites and stalagmites that have taken millions of years to form, growing inch by agonizingly slow inch in the absolute darkness. It is a cathedral of silence, carved by the patient hand of water over eons. In the small, quiet Sultanate of Brunei, the green heart of Borneo remains largely untouched. The Ulu Temburong National Park is a sanctuary of primary rainforest where no roads penetrate the interior. To reach it, one must travel by longboat up winding tea-colored rivers, moving deeper into a wilderness that feels exactly as it did thousands of years ago. The canopy walkway here allows you to stand above the clouds of mist that rise from the trees at dawn, watching the world wake up in a sea of endless green. Our journey through these islands concludes in the waters of Timor-Leste. Situated in the heart of the Coral Triangle, The reefs surrounding Ataro Island are among the most biodiverse in the entire world. Beneath the surface, the water is so clear it feels like liquid air. Thousands of species of fish in every color imaginable dart through forests of coral that pulse with the gentle movement of the tides. There is a deep meditative peace found in the weightlessness of the ocean, a silence broken only by the crackle of life on the reef. As we leave the islands behind, the horizon opens up once more. The air begins to cool slightly as we turn our gaze westward, moving across the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean toward the ancient landscapes and towering peaks of the South Asian subcontinent. The air changes as we drift across the warm expanse of the Indian Ocean, becoming heavier with the scent of salt and earth. We are approaching the vast and storied lands of South Asia, a region defined by the rhythmic pulse of the planet. In India, this pulse is felt most deeply through the arrival of the monsoon. It is not merely rain, but a seasonal shift in the very breath of the continent. As the land heats up in the summer months, it draws in moist air from the sea, creating a massive, cooling embrace that sweeps across the plains. When the first heavy drops hit the sun-baked soil, they release a fragrance known as petrichor, a sweet, earthy scent that signals life and renewal. The monsoon is a reminder of how the earth provides, a predictable cycle that has dictated the rhythm of life here for thousands of years. Just to the south, like a teardrop in the ocean, lies Sri Lanka. Long before it was known for its rolling tea plantations, this island was the world's primary source of true cinnamon. This spice is actually the inner bark of a specific evergreen tree. In the quiet forests, the bark is carefully peeled away and dried, naturally, curling into the familiar quills we know. The scent of a cinnamon grove is soft and warm, a gentle fragrance that lingers in the humid air, carrying with it the history of ancient trade routes and the quiet work of the forest. Further out into the blue, the Maldives appear as a string of delicate pearls scattered across the water. This nation is the lowest on Earth, with an average elevation of just 1.5 meters above sea level. The islands are coral atolls, built upon the submerged rims of ancient volcanoes. Here, the water is so shallow and clear that the white sand of the seafloor reflects the sunlight, creating shades of turquoise that seem to glow from within. It is a place of profound stillness, where the only sound is the rhythmic lap of the tide against the shore, a slow and steady heartbeat. Following the coastline north, we reach the delta of the Ganges and Brahmaputra rivers in Bangladesh. This is the home of the Sundarbans, the largest mangrove forest in the world. It is a labyrinth of tidal waterways and mudflats where the trees have adapted to live in salty water. Their roots, called pneumatophores, grow upward out of the mud like small wooden fingers, reaching into the air to breathe during high tide. It is a silent, shifting world of green and gold where the boundary between land and water is never quite fixed. As we move inland and upward, the ground begins to rise sharply toward the skies. In Nepal, we find ourselves at the roof of the world. The Himalayas are so high that they create their own weather, trapping clouds against their frozen peaks. In the high-altitude valleys, the air is thin and incredibly still. There is a specific kind of silence found in the mountains, a heavy, peaceful quiet that feels as though the world is holding its breath. Here, the mountains are still growing, pushed upward by the slow, relentless collision of tectonic plates rising just a few millimeters every year. In the neighboring kingdom of Bhutan, this connection to the land is a way of life. Bhutan is the only carbon-negative country in the world, meaning its vast protected forests absorb more carbon dioxide than the entire nation produces. Over 70% of the land is covered in trees, creating a sanctuary of biodiversity where the air is among the cleanest on the planet. It is a quiet, green lung for the earth, where the philosophy of gross national happiness prioritizes the well-being of the environment and the spirit over material growth. Finally, we reach the rugged Karakoram Range in Pakistan, home to K2, the second highest peak on Earth. While Everest is taller, K2 is often described as a more perfect pyramid of rock and ice. Its slopes are draped in massive glaciers that move with a slow, grinding power, carving deep valleys into the landscape. Unlike many of the world's glaciers, some in the Karakoram are actually stable or even growing, a phenomenon known as the Karakoram anomaly. In the shadow of these giants, the scale of the world feels immense, a reminder of the enduring strength of the earth beneath our feet. The landscape now begins to transition again, leaving the high peaks behind as we move toward the vast open steppes and ancient trade routes that lie to the north. The air grows drier and cooler as we leave the humidity of the south, heading into the heart of the Eurasian continent. The air grows cooler and drier as we move north, leaving the high peaks of the Karakoram behind and entering the vast, open heart of Central Asia. Here, the landscape stretches out in a sea of golden grass and rugged mountains that have watched over the movements of travelers for thousands of years. We begin in Kazakhstan, a land of immense proportions, where the southern mountains hide a surprising secret. In the foothills of the Tian Shan, there are ancient wild forests where the ancestors of all the world's apples still grow. These wild trees, known as Malus seversi, produce fruit in an incredible variety of colors and flavors, from sour greens to deep honey-sweet reds. Long before they were cultivated in orchards across the globe, these seeds were carried by birds and bears, and eventually by humans traveling along the Silk Road. Imagine the scent of wild fruit ripening in the cool mountain air, a sweetness that has persisted through the ages. Further south, we find the Celestial Mountains of Kyrgyzstan. This is a land of high-altitude pastures and hidden lakes, where the earth seems to reach up to touch the stars. One of the most remarkable features here is Issyk Kul, the second largest alpine lake in the world. Despite being surrounded by snow-capped peaks in the dead of winter, its waters never freeze. The name itself means warm lake, a result of its slight salinity and great depth. The water is a deep, tranquil blue, so clear that it reflects the vastness of the sky above with perfect stillness. In the quiet of the Kyrgyz highlands, the only sound is the soft whistle of the wind through the mountain grass, a lonely and peaceful melody that invites the mind to drift. In Tajikistan, we encounter the Pamir Mountains, often called the roof of the world. This is a high, icy realm where the landscape is dominated by the slow, majestic movement of glaciers. The Fedchenko Glacier is the longest glacier in the world outside of the polar regions, stretching for 77 kilometers through the rugged terrain. It is a river of ice, moving with a silent, crushing weight that shapes the very bones of the earth. These glaciers act as a frozen reservoir, slowly releasing water to the valleys below, sustaining life in a region where rain is rare. The ice is ancient, trapping tiny bubbles of air from centuries ago, a quiet record of the planet's history, held in a frozen embrace. As we descend from the high altitudes, we reach the ancient cities of Uzbekistan, where the history of the Silk Road is etched into the very stones. In cities like Samarkand and Bukhara, the architecture is a master class in geometry and color. The great domes and minarets are covered in intricate tiles of turquoise, azure, and cobalt, mirroring the shifting shades of the desert sky. These patterns are designed to lead the eye in infinite loops, a visual meditation that has calmed the spirits of travelers for centuries. The courtyards are cool and shaded, filled with the soft murmur of fountains and the faint scent of sun-warmed brick. It is a place where time seems to slow down, held in the balance of perfect symmetry. Our journey through this region concludes in the vast Karakum Desert of Turkmenistan. Here, the sand is a pale gold, shifting in the wind to form dunes that look like frozen waves. In the heart of this desert lies a unique phenomenon, a glowing crater that has been burning for decades. Known as the Darvaza gas crater, it emits a soft, warm light that illuminates the surrounding dunes in the dark of night. In the silence of the desert, away from the lights of any city, it looks like a Jonet campfire for the earth itself. The warmth from the ground meets the cool night air, creating a gentle contrast that makes the vastness of the desert feel cozy and still. We are now leaving the open steppes and high plateaus behind, turning our gaze toward the west. The landscape is beginning to shift again, moving toward the historical crossroads where ancient empires met and where the earth yields some of its most fragrant and precious treasures. The air is changing once more, carrying the faint, warm promise of the Mediterranean breeze as we head toward the lands of the Levant and the ancient mysteries of Western Asia. As we cross the high plateaus and leave the Silk Road behind, we move into the fragrant heart of the Levant and Western Asia. The air here feels ancient and heavy with history, yet there is a profound stillness in the landscape. We begin in the vast fields of Iran, where in the cool pre-dawn mist of autumn, the ground is covered in a delicate carpet of purple. These are the saffron crocuses. Each flower holds only 3 tiny crimson threads, which must be harvested by hand before the sun rises too high and wilts the blossoms. It takes tens of thousands of these flowers to produce just a small amount of saffron, making it the most precious spice on earth. Imagine the quiet rhythmic movement of hands in the morning light, the air cool and still as this red gold is gathered from the earth. Following the path of the sun westward, we reach the fertile lands of Iraq, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Here, the landscape is defined by the majestic silhouette of the date palm. For thousands of years, these trees have been the tree of life for this region, providing shade, shelter, and sweetness. There are hundreds of varieties of dates, each with its own subtle flavor and texture. In the heat of the afternoon, the long, feathery fronds of the palms rustle gently in the breeze, creating a soft, dry, whispering sound that has echoed through these valleys since the dawn of civilization. It is a sound of endurance and hospitality, a reminder of the deep roots that sustain life in the desert. In the ancient cities of Syria, a different kind of beauty was forged. Damascus steel is legendary for its strength and its hauntingly beautiful appearance. The surface of the metal is covered in swirling, wavy patterns that look like flowing water or drifting silk. This unique texture was created through a complex process of folding and hammering that was once a closely guarded secret. Looking at the patterns is like watching the current of a slow-moving river, a visual meditation on the marriage of strength and grace. It is a craft that reflects the patience and precision of a time when every object was made with careful, unhurried intent. Moving toward the Mediterranean coast, we rise into the cool, mist-shrouded mountains of Lebanon. This is the home of the great cedars, trees so ancient and revered they are mentioned in the earliest stories of humanity. Some of these trees have stood for over 1,000 years, their massive branches spreading out in wide, flat tiers that catch the mountain snow and rain. The wood is famously fragrant, releasing a scent that is both earthy and refreshing. To stand in a cedar grove is to feel the weight of centuries, a deep and quiet stability that makes the worries of the day feel very small and distant. To the south, the desert of Jordan reveals a city of stone. Petra, the rose-red city, is carved directly into the sandstone cliffs. To enter, one must walk through the Syke, a narrow, winding canyon where the walls rise hundreds of feet on either side, narrowing the sky to a thin ribbon of blue. The silence inside the canyon is absolute, broken only by the soft sound of footsteps on the sand. When the path finally opens, the grand facades of the temples appear, their intricate carvings glowing in shades of pink, red, and orange. It is a city that feels as though it grew out of the earth itself, a silent monument to human ingenuity and the stillness of the desert. Not far from here lies the Dead Sea, a place of extraordinary quiet. Situated at the lowest point on the Earth's surface, the water is so dense with salt and minerals that it is impossible to sink. To float in these waters is to experience a rare sensation of total weightlessness. You can lie back and let the water support you completely, feeling the tension leave your muscles as you drift on the glassy, unmoving surface. The air is thick with oxygen and minerals, making every breath feel slow and restorative. In the rolling hills of Palestine, the landscape is a tapestry of silver and green, shaped by the ancient olive groves. Some of these trees are over 1,000 years old, their trunks gnarled and twisted into beautiful sculptural shapes. The olive tree is a symbol of peace and rootedness, its silver-backed leaves shimmering in the sunlight like a gentle sea. These trees require very little to thrive, standing as quiet witnesses to the passage of time, their deep roots holding the soil and their branches offering a soft, dappled shade. As we leave these ancient groves and hills behind, the landscape begins to open up once more. The air grows drier and the horizon widens as we turn our gaze toward the vast golden expanses of the south. Sogi. We are moving now toward the great peninsula of Arabia, where the sands shift in the wind and the stars shine with a brilliant desert clarity. The Arabian Peninsula is a land of immense proportions, where the horizon seems to stretch into eternity. Under a sky that remains clear and silent for most of the year, it is a place defined by its relationship with water, or the lack of it. Saudi Arabia is the largest country in the world without a single permanent year-round river. Instead, the landscape is marked by wadis, ancient dry riverbeds that remain dormant for months or even years. When a rare rainstorm finally arrives, these wadis transform for a few brief hours into rushing streams, bringing a sudden fleeting life to the dust before the sun returns to reclaim the moisture. Underneath the vast dunes of the Rub al-Khali, or the empty quarter, lie massive aquifers, hidden reservoirs of water trapped deep within the earth, keeping the desert's secrets in the cool, dark depths. As we move toward the southern tip of the peninsula, the landscape takes on a more mysterious character. On the island of Socotra, belonging to Yemen, grow the legendary dragonblood trees. These trees look like nothing else on earth, with thick, gnarled trunks and a dense canopy of branches that spread out like an upturned umbrella. Their name comes from the dark red resin they produce, which was once thought to be the blood of ancient dragons. These trees are perfectly adapted to the arid climate, their unique shape allowing them to capture the morning mist and funnel every precious drop of water down to their roots. To see them standing in the quiet mountain fog is like looking back into a prehistoric world, a place of stillness and strange, enduring beauty. In the neighboring land of Oman, the air is often filled with the soft, earthy scent of frankincense. For thousands of years, the Dhofar region has been the heart of the frankincense trade. The resin is harvested from the small, hardy boswellia trees that grow in the rocky valleys. During the summer months, a unique weather pattern called the Kharif brings a gentle, cooling mist to the mountains, turning the desert landscape into a lush green paradise. It is a time of soft rains and quiet growth, where the scent of the earth and the resin mingle in the cool air, creating a natural sanctuary of peace. Along the coast of the United Arab Emirates, the landscape has been reshaped by human hands in extraordinary ways. Huge man-made islands like the Palm Jumeirah extend into the turquoise waters of the Persian Gulf, their symmetrical fronds visible even from space. These islands were built using millions of tons of sand and rock, creating new coastlines where there were once only open waves. The water between these fronds is calm and still, reflecting the modern skyline like a mirror in the fading light of the day. Further north in Qatar, the desert meets the sea in a more natural, gentle transition. Here, the Al-Thakira mangroves create a hidden forest of green amidst the salt flats. These hardy trees grow directly in the shallow, salty water, their complex root systems providing a nursery for fish and a quiet resting place for migrating birds. The sound of the tide moving through the mangrove roots is a soft, rhythmic pulse, a reminder of the life that thrives wherever the land and sea meet. In Kuwait, the northern island of Bubiyan serves as a vast, silent sanctuary. It is a place of mud flats and salt marshes, largely untouched by the bustle of the modern world. Every year, thousands of birds stop here on their long journeys across the globe, finding a moment of rest in the quiet isolation of the island. It is a place where the only sound is the wind over the water and the occasional call of a bird in the distance. In the heart of the desert in Bahrain, there stands a single remarkable tree, known as the Shajarat al-Hayat, or the Tree of Life. This 400-year-old mesquite tree grows alone on a sandy hill, miles away from any visible source of water. Its deep green leaves remain vibrant and lush despite the searing heat, a mystery that has fascinated travelers for centuries. Some believe its roots reach deep down to a hidden underground spring, while others simply see it as a symbol of resilience and the quiet power of life to persist in the most unlikely places. As we leave the golden sands and the ancient trees of the peninsula behind, we move toward the west. The landscape begins to change as we approach the shores of the Red Sea, a narrow ribbon of deep blue water that separates these desert lands from a new horizon. We cross the water slowly, watching the sun dip lower as the vast, storied continent of Africa rises to meet us, promising new landscapes of ancient rivers and endless dunes. Crossing the narrow expanse of the Red Sea, we arrive on the shores of Egypt, where the ancient sands meet the life-giving waters of the Nile. As the sun begins to set, the river glows like a ribbon of liquid gold. This is the world's longest river, a steady rhythmic pulse that has sustained life for thousands of years. As it approaches the Mediterranean, the river slows and spreads out into the vast Nile Delta. This fertile triangle of green is a stark and beautiful contrast to the surrounding desert. The soil here is rich and dark, deposited over eons by the annual floods of the past. In the quiet of the evening, you can almost hear the soft rustle of papyrus reeds swaying in the river breeze, a sound that has remained unchanged since the time of the pharaohs. The Delta is a place of incredible stillness, where the water moves so slowly it barely ripples the surface, reflecting the first few stars as they appear in the darkening sky. Traveling westward, the green of the Nile fades into the immense silence of Libya and the heart of the Sahara. Here, the landscape is dominated by the great sand sea, an endless expanse of dunes that rise and fall like frozen waves. Some of these dunes are hundreds of feet tall, their crests sharp and elegant against the horizon. In the deep desert, there is a phenomenon known as singing sands, where the wind passing over the dunes creates a low, humming vibration like a distant, ghostly choir. Hidden among these mountains of sand are secret oases, like the lakes of the Ubari Sand Sea. These pools of deep blue water are surrounded by clusters of date palms, providing a quiet sanctuary of shade and moisture in the middle of the arid wilderness. The water is often very salty, allowing you to float effortlessly on the surface, looking up at the vast, unpolluted sky. As we move toward the Mediterranean coast of Tunisia, the air becomes cooler and carries the faint, salty scent of the sea. On the cliffs overlooking the Gulf of Tunis sits the village of Sidi Bou Said. This town is famous for its simple, calming palette of colors. Every building is a brilliant chalky white, accented by doors and window shutters of a deep Mediterranean blue. Walking through these narrow, winding streets in your mind, you can feel the smooth cobblestones beneath your feet and see the vibrant purple of bougainvillea draped over garden walls. The architecture is a blend of Andalusian and Ottoman styles, designed to keep the interiors cool and quiet. It is a place of profound peace, where the only sound is the gentle lap of the waves against the shore far below. Continuing along the coast into Algeria, the landscape becomes more rugged. The Tell Atlas Mountains rise steeply from the sea, their slopes covered in forests of cork oak and cedar. This mountainous coastline is dotted with hidden coves and turquoise bays, where the Mediterranean water is so clear you can see the white sand on the seabed many meters down. Further inland, the Tassili Najer Plateau rises like a fortress from the desert floor. This ancient sandstone range has been eroded by wind and water into thousands of natural arches and pillars, creating a surreal stone forest. It is home to some of the world's most significant prehistoric rock art, silent witnesses to a time when this desert was once a lush savanna filled with rivers and wildlife. Finally, we reach the western edge of the continent in Morocco, where the high Atlas Mountains form a majestic barrier between the sea and the sands. These peaks are so high that they are often capped with snow, even while the desert at their feet remains warm. The air here is thin and crisp, smelling of wild thyme and cold stone. In the valleys below, ancient Berber villages are built directly into the mountainsides, their reddish-brown clay walls blending perfectly with the earth. The mountains catch the moisture from the Atlantic, creating lush, hidden valleys filled with walnut trees and rose gardens. As the night deepens, take a moment to imagine the air turning cool and crisp. In the desert, the heat of the day escapes quickly into the atmosphere, leaving the sand cool to the touch. The world feels very large and very still. Take a slow, deep breath in, feeling the stillness of the North African night. Exhale slowly, letting any remaining tension drift away, like dust on a light breeze. The stars above the Sahara are brighter than anywhere else, a dense carpet of light that stretches from one horizon to the other. We now begin to turn our gaze southward, leaving the Mediterranean coast behind. We move away from the high peaks and the blue and white villages, traveling toward the Sahel, the vast transitional belt of semi-arid grassland that separates the Sahara from the tropical regions of the south. The golden dunes begin to give way to scattered acacia trees and hardy grasses as we enter a region of ancient trade routes and resilient landscapes. In the vast, sun-bleached expanse of Mauritania, the earth itself seems to look back at the stars. Here lies a geological wonder so immense it can only be fully appreciated from the silence of space. This is the Rishat structure, often called the Eye of the Sahara. It is a giant, concentric bullseye, nearly 40 kilometers wide, carved into the desert floor. For a long time, scientists wondered if it was the result of a massive meteor strike. But we now know it is a deeply eroded geologic dome, a massive swelling of the Earth's crust that eventually collapsed and wore away over millions of years. Walking across its rings, the ground is a mosaic of ancient quartz and sedimentary rock, a silent record of the planet's slow rhythmic movements. Moving eastward into the heart of Mali, the golden sands of the north begin to blend with the fertile banks of the Niger River. In the ancient city of Djenné, the great mosque rises from the earth like a natural formation. It is the largest mud brick building in the world, a masterpiece of Sudano-Sahelian architecture. The walls are made of sun-dried earth and husks, reinforced with wooden beams that poke out from the sides like ribs. Every year, after the rainy season, the entire community gathers in a joyful, rhythmic festival to replaster the walls by hand, ensuring the structure remains strong. Inside, The thick mud walls provide a natural, heavy insulation, keeping the air remarkably cool and hushed even when the sun is at its zenith. In the desolate beauty of Niger's Tenere Desert, the ground holds secrets from a much wetter, greener past. This is the site of Gadufawa, one of the most prolific dinosaur graveyards on the planet. Here, the shifting sands occasionally reveal the fossilized remains of creatures that lived over 100 million years ago, such as the Nigersaurus, a long-necked dinosaur with a wide, flat mouth containing 500 teeth designed to graze on prehistoric ferns. These fossils lie in a state of perfect stillness, preserved by the dry desert air, offering a quiet window into an era when this arid landscape was a lush network of rivers and forests. Further east, we find the shallow, tranquil waters of Lake Chad. This lake is a vital lifeline for millions of people and countless species of birds. It is an endorheic lake, meaning its waters do not flow out to any ocean. They simply rest in a vast, shallow basin, rising and falling with the seasons. Over the last several decades, the lake has shrunk significantly, leaving behind vast plains of fertile soil and seasonal marshes. The water is often still, reflecting the pale blue of the Sahelian sky, while the edges of the lake are thick with papyrus and reeds that sway gently in the breeze. In the neighboring land of Sudan, the desert holds a different kind of historical silence. Along the banks of the Nile, the ancient city of Meroe is home to more than 200 pyramids, far more than can be found in all of Egypt. These pyramids of the Kingdom of Kush are smaller and steeper than their northern cousins, rising like sharp reddish gold needles from the orange sand. They stand in quiet clusters, many of them perfectly preserved, guarding the tombs of ancient kings and queens. The wind here is soft, carrying the fine dust of the desert across the stone steps, a reminder of the many centuries that have passed over these silent monuments. Following the Nile southward, the desert finally yields to the immense, watery greenery of the Sud in South Sudan. This is one of the largest wetlands in the world, a labyrinth of lagoons, channels, and reed beds that stretches as far as the eye can see. The word Sud means barrier in Arabic, referring to the thick mats of floating vegetation that can grow so dense they block the path of boats. It is a place of profound biological richness, where the water moves slowly, filtered by the plants until it is clear and cool. Thousands of migratory birds rest here in the tall grasses, their calls the only sound in the vast emerald landscape. As we leave the interior of the continent behind, we begin to travel westward again, heading toward the coast, where the dry air of the Sahel meets the moisture of the Atlantic. The landscape begins to soften, the browns and ochres of the desert turning into the deep, vibrant greens of the coastal forests. We are moving toward the edge of the great ocean, where the rhythm of the waves begins to replace the stillness of the sands. As the air grows more humid and the scent of salt begins to drift on the breeze, we reach the westernmost tip of the African continent. Here, along the coast of Senegal, lies a body of water that seems to belong more to a dream than to the earth. Lake Retba, often called the Pink Lake, is famous for its striking strawberry hue. This unusual color is caused by a salt-loving microorganism called Dunaliella salina, which produces a red pigment to absorb sunlight. The water is so dense with salt that, much like the Dead Sea, a person can float effortlessly upon its surface. In the quiet of the morning, the lake is a mirror of soft rose and pale lavender, framed by white dunes of salt that have been harvested by hand for generations. The rhythm of the work here is slow and steady, matching the gentle lapping of the pink water against the shore. Moving just a short distance south, we encounter the unique geography of the Gambia. This nation is one of the smallest on the continent, and its shape is defined entirely by the river that shares its name. The country is a narrow ribbon of land, following the winding curves of the Gambia River for over 300 miles, yet it is rarely more than 30 miles wide. To look at a map of this region is to see a river wrapped in a gentle embrace of land. The water here is the lifeblood of the country, moving sluggishly through thick mangrove swamps, where the roots of the trees reach down into the brackish water like tangled fingers, providing a silent sanctuary for countless birds and crocodiles. Further down the coast, we find the Bijagos archipelago of Guinea-Bissau. This cluster of 88 islands is a place of profound natural mystery. It is one of the few places on Earth where hippopotamuses have adapted to life in the ocean. These massive, gentle-looking creatures can be seen wading through the surf or swimming in the salty waves between the islands. During the heat of the day, they retreat into the cool, shaded mangroves, their slow, heavy breaths the only sound in the humid stillness of the forest. Inland from the coast, the landscape rises into the cool, misty highlands of Guinea. This region is often called the Water Tower of West Africa because it is the source of some of the continent's most significant rivers, including the Niger, the Senegal, and the Gambia. The Fouta Djallon Plateau is a place of deep canyons and thundering waterfalls that turn into silver threads during the dry season. The air here is thinner and fresher than on the coast, carrying the scent of damp moss and ancient stone. Every drop of rain that falls on these green peaks eventually finds its way across thousands of miles of savanna and forest, nourishing half a dozen different nations on its long journey to the sea. As we continue south along the coast to Sierra Leone, the geology beneath our feet tells a story of immense pressure and time. This land is rich with diamonds formed billions of years ago, deep within the Earth's mantle, and brought to the surface by ancient volcanic pipes known as kimberlites. Over millions of years, the rain has washed these stones into the riverbeds, where they rest among the gravel and silt. The search for these hidden treasures is a quiet, patient process of sifting through the earth, a reminder of the incredible treasures the planet hides beneath its humble surface. In the neighboring forests of Liberia, the landscape is dominated by the tall, straight trunks of rubber trees. This region has a long history of rubber production, and the sight of the trees standing in perfect, silent rows is a hallmark of the countryside. To harvest the rubber, a small diagonal groove is carved into the bark, allowing the milky white sap, or latex, to drip slowly into a waiting cup. The process is rhythmic and silent, drip, 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 as the tree heals itself by giving away its fluid. The forests here are dense and vibrant, a deep canopy of emerald that breathes out a cool, oxygen-rich mist every evening. We leave these lush coastal forests behind and begin to move further east, following the curve of the continent as it bends along the Gulf of Guinea. The air remains warm and heavy with moisture, and the sound of the Atlantic surf is a constant low-frequency hum that guides us toward the golden sands and historical shores that lie ahead. As we continue our journey eastward along the curve of the Gulf of Guinea, the air remains warm and heavy with the scent of the earth. We cross into the Ivory Coast, a land where the forest floor is often dappled with the shade of broad, green leaves. This is the world's leading producer of cocoa, the primary ingredient in chocolate. The cocoa trees thrive here in the humid, tropical climate, growing best under the canopy of taller forest trees that protect them from the direct heat of the sun. The cocoa pods themselves are fascinating. They grow directly from the trunk and main branches of the tree, turning from a deep green to a vibrant yellow or orange as they ripen. Inside each pod, the seeds are nestled in a soft white pulp, waiting to be harvested and fermented in a process that has remained largely unchanged for generations. The rhythm of the harvest is a quiet one, a steady movement through the groves as the sun filters through the canopy. Moving further along the coast, we arrive in Ghana, a nation with a history so deeply tied to its mineral wealth that it was once known globally as the Gold Coast. Beneath the rolling hills and within the beds of its winding rivers, the earth holds vast deposits of gold. For centuries, this precious metal has been panned from the silt or mined from deep within the rock, shaping the culture and the power of the ancient Ashanti Empire. Today, Ghana remains one of the top gold producers in the world. There is a quiet majesty to the way the sunlight hits the coastal forts and the golden sands, a reminder of the many layers of history that rest beneath the modern landscape. The people here have a long tradition of weaving kente cloth, a fabric of intricate patterns and bright colors, where every design tells a specific story or conveys a traditional proverb, a silent language woven into the very threads of the garments. The landscape begins to ripple and rise as we reach Togo. This narrow strip of land is defined by the Togo Mountains, a range of gentle, forest-covered hills that stretch across the center of the country. These hills provide a cooler, mistier climate than the coastal plains, offering a sanctuary for a wide variety of bird life and rare plants. The air here is still and fresh, carrying the faint sound of distant waterfalls cascading over ancient rocks. Just to the east lies Benin, a place where the artistry of the past is preserved in the form of bronze. The historical kingdom of Dahomey and the neighboring regions are famous for their sophisticated metalwork. For hundreds of years, artisans used the lost wax casting method to create intricate bronze plaques, statues, and ornaments. These pieces often depicted scenes of court life or the natural world, captured forever in the heavy, cool weight of the metal. The skill required to create such detail in bronze is a testament to a long tradition of craftsmanship, a quiet dedication to beauty and poem that has endured through the centuries. Next, we enter Nigeria, a vast and diverse land that serves as a giant of the continent. While the geography ranges from coastal mangroves to inland savannas, one of Nigeria's most remarkable modern exports is its storytelling. Nigeria is home to Nollywood, the second largest film industry in the world by volume. Every year, thousands of films are produced here, capturing the imagination of millions across Africa and beyond. It is a testament to the power of human creativity, the ability to weave narratives and share experiences through the lens of a camera. Even in the quieter corners of the country, the influence of this vibrant culture can be felt, a steady pulse of innovation and expression that defines the modern spirit of the region. As we approach the border of Central Africa, the terrain becomes even more dramatic in Cameroon. This country is often called Africa in miniature because it contains almost every major landscape found on the continent, from beaches and deserts to mountains and rainforests. Dominating the coastline is Mount Cameroon, an active volcano and the highest peak in West and Central Africa. Its slopes are covered in rich volcanic soil that supports lush greenery. Higher up, the mountain is home to unique crater lakes, such as Lake Nyos. These lakes are deep and incredibly still, their surfaces reflecting the blue of the sky like polished glass. They sit quietly within the hollowed-out peaks of old volcanoes, holding secrets of the Earth's internal heat within their cool, dark depths. The humidity increases, and the trees grow taller and more ancient as we leave the Gulf of Guinea behind. The landscape is beginning to shift, losing the salt spray of the Atlantic as we move toward the deep emerald heart of the continent. We are entering the vast drainage basin of the Congo, a place of immense shadows and life-giving water, where the forest is so dense that the sun rarely touches the ground. As we move further into the emerald heart of Central Africa, the air becomes heavy with the scent of damp earth and ancient leaves. We find ourselves first in Equatorial Guinea, a country with a geography as unique as its history. While part of the nation lies on the African mainland, its capital city, Malabo, is situated on the island of Bioko. This volcanic island rises steeply from the Gulf of Guinea, its slopes draped in a thick mantle of tropical forest. The air here is often misty, a soft veil that clings to the peaks and keeps the island in a state of eternal, quiet green. Take a slow, deep breath and imagine that mist cooling the air around you. Traveling south along the Atlantic coast, we reach the shores of Gabon. In places like Loango National Park, the dense rainforest pushes right up to the edge of the white sand beaches. It is one of the few places on Earth where the wild inhabitants of the forest meet the sea. If you were to watch the waves from a distance, you might see a truly extraordinary sight: hippos swimming in the Atlantic surf. These surfing hippos venture into the salt water to play or move between beaches, their massive forms bobbing gently in the rolling blue waves. There is something deeply peaceful about the image of such powerful creatures surrendering to the rhythm of the ocean. Turning inland, we enter the vastness of the Republic of the Congo. This is the core of the Congo Basin, home to the second largest rainforest in the entire world. It is a place of incredible silence, broken only by the distant call of a bird or the soft rustle of leaves high in the canopy. The trees here are giants, their roots anchored deep in the rich soil, creating a cathedral of green that stretches for hundreds of miles. It is a vital part of our planet's breath, a lush, living lung that cleans the air and provides a sanctuary for countless species that live far from the touch of modern life. Flowing through this landscape is the mighty Congo River, the lifeblood of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This river is a force of nature unlike any other. It is not just long and wide. It is the deepest river ever recorded on Earth. In certain narrow stretches, the water plunges to depths of over 700 feet. Down in those lightless depths, the water is cool and still, a hidden world beneath the powerful currents of the surface. Imagine the weight of that water, a steady rhythmic flow that has carved its way through the continent over millions of years, moving with a slow, unstoppable grace. To the north, in the Central African Republic, the landscape opens into vast wilderness areas like Zanga-Sanga. Because this region is so remote and has so little artificial light, it is home to some of the most spectacular dark sky preserves in the world. When the sun sets here, the darkness is absolute and velvety. Looking upward, the Milky Way appears not as a faint smudge, but as a brilliant, glowing river of stars, so bright they almost seem to cast a shadow on the ground. It is a reminder of how the world looked long ago, a quiet, starlit expanse that invites you to let go of your thoughts and simply watch the light of distant suns. Before we leave this central region, we must visit the twin islands of São Tomé and Príncipe. Resting on the equator, these islands are often called the Chocolate Islands. The rich volcanic soil and the humid tropical climate provide the perfect conditions for growing some of the finest cocoa in the world. For over a century, the rhythm of life here has been tied to the slow fermentation and drying of cocoa beans under the warm sun. The scent of chocolate often hangs faintly in the air, a sweet and comforting aroma that matches the gentle, unhurried pace of island life. As we leave the deep greens and heavy mists of the central forests behind, the air begins to change. The land is rising, preparing us for a transition toward the dramatic scars and towering peaks of the east. We are moving toward the Great Rift Valley, where the earth is slowly pulling apart, creating a landscape of deep lakes and high plateaus that will lead us into a new chapter of our journey. As we climb the rugged heights of the Ethiopian highlands, the air turns cool and crisp. This is a land of ancient secrets, where the high plateaus meet the sky in a soft gray mist. It is here, in the lush region of Kaffa, that a simple, world-changing discovery was made over 1,000 years ago. Legend tells of a young goat herder named Kaldi, who noticed his goats dancing with unusual energy after eating the bright red berries of a certain evergreen shrub. This was the birth of coffee. Even today, the traditional coffee ceremony in Ethiopia is a slow, rhythmic art form. The beans are roasted over a small charcoal fire, their rich, earthy scent filling the room, before being ground by hand and brewed in a clay pot called a jebina. It is a process that cannot be rushed, a quiet invitation to sit, breathe, and enjoy the present moment in the cool shadow of the mountains. Descending from these heights toward the Red Sea, we find ourselves in the city of Asmara, the capital of Eritrea. Often called Little Rome, this city is a living museum of Art Deco architecture, preserved in the high, dry air. Imagine walking down quiet, palm-lined avenues where the buildings look like something out of a dream from the 1930s. There are cinemas with curved glass facades, gas stations shaped like airplanes, and cafes with polished brass counters. The sunset casts a warm golden glow over the pastel-colored walls, and the sound of distant bicycle bells echoes through the streets. It is a place where time seems to have slowed down, preserving a unique moment in history for the modern world to see, as peaceful as a photograph in an old book. Further south, the land dips into the stark, otherworldly beauty of Djibouti. Here, the earth is physically pulling apart at the junction of three tectonic plates, creating a landscape of raw geological power. In the heart of this volcanic terrain lies Lake Assel, the lowest point on the entire African continent. The water here is 10 times saltier than the ocean, creating a shimmering turquoise pool surrounded by a crust of brilliant white salt crystals that look like fallen snow. The air is still and silent, the heat of the day giving way to a cool, starlit night. It is a place of profound stillness, where the geological forces of the planet are visible in the jagged rocks and the deep, silent rifts in the earth, reminding us of the slow, steady movement of the ground beneath us. Following the curve of the continent eastward, we reach the long, sweeping coastline of Somalia. This is the longest coastline on mainland Africa, stretching for over 2,000 miles along the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean. The beaches here are vast and pristine, with fine white sand that feels like silk. The waves of the Indian Ocean roll in with a steady, hypnotic rhythm, their turquoise crests turning to white foam as they reach the shore. For centuries, these waters have been a gateway for spice traders and ancient sailors, guided by the stars across the deep blue expanse. There is a sense of immense space here, where the horizon feels infinite, and the sea breeze carries the faint scent of salt and ancient history. As we leave the Horn of Africa behind, the rugged cliffs and salt flats begin to soften into a different kind of vastness. The landscape is opening up into the golden plains of the savanna. We are moving toward the heart of the East African Lakes region, where the land is carved by deep freshwater seas and the great migrations of the natural world are about to begin. The air is becoming warmer, filled with the scent of dry grass and the promise of the wide, open wild. The golden savanna stretches out before us, a sea of amber grass that seems to ripple like water under the gentle breeze. We have arrived in the heart of East Africa, a land defined by its great lakes and the ancient rhythms of the natural world. As we settle into this landscape, imagine the vastness of the sky above, a deep, clear blue that feels close enough to touch. In Kenya, this vastness plays host to one of the most rhythmic events on our planet, the Great Migration. Each year, over 1 million wildebeest, accompanied by hundreds of thousands of zebras and gazelles, travel in a giant circle through the Serengeti Mara ecosystem. It is not a race, but a steady, persistent movement driven by the scent of rain and the growth of new grass. The sound of their movement is a low rhythmic thrumming, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. This journey is a testament to the endurance of life, a cycle that has continued for millennia, reminding us that there is a time for every season and a path for every traveler. To the west, the plains begin to rise, transforming into the mist-shrouded peaks and lush emerald forests of Uganda. Here, the air is cool and heavy with the scent of damp earth and ancient moss. Deep within the Bwindi impenetrable forest live the mountain gorillas, gentle giants who move through the thick undergrowth with surprising silence. They spend their days in quiet contemplation, foraging for bamboo shoots and wild celery. To watch a family of gorillas resting in a clearing is to witness a profound sense of peace. The silverback patriarch watches over his troop with a calm, steady gaze, while the younger ones play softly in the shadows. It is a place where the modern world feels very far away, replaced by the simple, quiet dignity of the forest. Crossing into Rwanda, the land of 1,000 hills, the landscape becomes a tapestry of terraced slopes and mist-covered valleys. There is a unique stillness here, particularly in the capital city of Kigali. Rwanda is known for having some of the cleanest streets in the world, a result of a deeply ingrained cultural practice called umuganda. On the last Saturday of every month, citizens across the country come together to clean their neighborhoods, plant trees, and maintain public spaces. This collective effort creates an atmosphere of order and care, where the environment is treated with a gentle respect that makes the entire country feel like a well-tended garden. In the small mountainous nation of Burundi, the silence of the hills is occasionally met by the grounding resonance of the royal drummers. These drums, known as the karienda, are more than just instruments. They are symbols of regeneration and the cycle of life. The drummers play with a synchronized hypnotic rhythm that echoes through the valleys. It is a sound that is both powerful and soothing, a steady pulse that connects the people to their history and the land beneath their feet. The rhythm is not jarring, but rather a comforting heartbeat that reminds the listener of the steady passage of time. Finally, we reach the immense expanse of the Serengeti in Tanzania. The name comes from the Maasai word meaning endless plains, and as you look toward the horizon, it is easy to see why. The land seems to go on forever, a flat, golden expanse dotted with iconic, flat-topped acacia trees. In the distance, the majestic silhouette of Mount Kilimanjaro rises above the clouds, its snow-capped peak glowing softly in the fading light. The Serengeti is a place of absolute scale, where the silence is so deep you can hear the soft sigh of the wind through the grass. As night begins to fall, the stars emerge one by one, filling the sky with a brilliant, silent light that watches over the sleeping plains. As the cool air of the evening settles over the Great Lakes, we begin to move further south. The landscape is shifting again, leaving the open savanna behind as we head toward the mineral-rich plateaus and hidden waters of the southern interior. The world remains quiet, the path ahead lit by the soft glow of the rising moon. Moving south from the endless plains of the Serengeti, we find ourselves beside the crystal clear waters of Lake Malawi. It is often called the Calendar Lake because it is roughly 365 miles long and 52 miles wide. Beneath the surface of this vast freshwater sea, there is a world of incredible color and diversity. Lake Malawi is home to more species of fish than any other lake on Earth. Most of these are cichlids, small, vibrant creatures that dart through the underwater rock formations in shades of sapphire, gold, and emerald. The water is so still and clear that from the shore you can see deep into the blue, watching the gentle sway of the aquatic plants. It is a place of profound peace, where the only sound is the rhythmic, soft lap of the water against the golden sand. Following the path of the mighty Zambezi River, we reach the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe, Here, the earth opens up to reveal one of the world's most breathtaking sights, Victoria Falls. To the local people, it is known as Mosi Oatunya, or the smoke that thunders. But tonight, as we imagine it, the thunder is a low, grounding hum that vibrates softly through the cool ground. The mist rises hundreds of feet into the air, creating a soft, perpetual rain that nourishes the surrounding rainforest even in the driest months. On nights when the moon is full, the spray creates a moonbow, a rare ethereal lunar rainbow that arches over the abyss in shades of silver and pale blue. It is a quiet, ghostly beauty that feels like a secret kept by the night, a bridge of light connecting the dark cliffs. Further into the heart of Zimbabwe, we encounter the silent, towering walls of Great Zimbabwe. These ancient stone ruins were once the capital of a vast kingdom built entirely of granite blocks laid one upon the other without a single drop of mortar. The precision of the stonework is remarkable, and as the moonlight hits the gray stone, the walls seem to hold the quiet memories of centuries. There is a deep, heavy stillness here. The wind whistles softly through the narrow passageways and over the rounded turrets, a gentle reminder of the enduring nature of the earth and the things we build upon it. It is a place of rest, where the stones have settled into the landscape as naturally as the hills themselves. Crossing into Botswana, the landscape transforms into a miracle of nature, the Okavango Delta. Unlike most rivers that flow toward the sea, the Okavango River flows into the sands of the Kalahari Desert, creating a vast, lush inland delta. It is a labyrinth of lagoons, channels, and secret islands. During the dry season, when the surrounding land is parched, the floodwaters arrive from the distant highlands, turning the desert into a shimmering emerald oasis. You can imagine drifting constantly in a mokoro, a traditional dugout canoe, moving slowly through the tall papyrus reeds. The water is cool and still, reflecting the vast African sky like a mirror. As we leave the heart of the interior, the air begins to carry a hint of salt and a cooler breeze. The dry heat of the plains is softening, and we are drawn further south toward the very edge of the continent, where the land finally meets the crashing waves of two great oceans. The journey continues, guided by the stars, toward the rugged coastlines and hidden kingdoms of the southern tip. The air cools significantly as we reach the southernmost tip of the continent, where the rugged cliffs of South Africa stand as silent sentinels over the meeting of two great oceans. Here, at the Cape of Good Hope, the cold, powerful currents of the Atlantic merge with the warmer, gentler waters of the Indian Ocean. In the mist-covered valleys and wind-swept slopes of this region, we find the Cape Floral Kingdom. Though it is the smallest of the world's 6 floral kingdoms, it is by far the most diverse, home to thousands of species of plants found nowhere else on Earth. Imagine the scent of wild fynbos, a mixture of honey-sweet proteas, earthy ericas, and the sharp, clean fragrance of buchu leaves. It is a botanical treasure, a vibrant carpet of green, pink, and gold that thrives in the salty breeze, clinging to the ancient sandstone mountains that have watched the tides rise and fall for millions of years. As we move toward the west, the landscape shifts into the haunting beauty of Namibia's Skeleton Coast. This is a place of stark contrasts, where the towering apricot-colored dunes of the Namib Desert, the oldest desert in the world, slip directly into the churning cold waters of the Atlantic. A thick, ethereal fog often rolls in from the sea, blanketing the coast in a soft, white silence. Through the mist, the weathered ribs of ancient shipwrecks emerge from the sand like the skeletons of great sea creatures slowly being reclaimed by the salt and wind. There is a profound stillness here, a sense of time standing still as the desert sands shift in slow, rhythmic ripples, burying and revealing the secrets of the past with every passing decade. High above the surrounding plains, nestled within the peaks of the Drakensberg Mountains, lies the Kingdom in the Sky, Lesotho. It is a land defined by height, being the only country in the world where every single inch of territory sits more than 1,000 meters above sea level. The air here is thin, crisp, and incredibly pure. In the winter months, a quiet blanket of snow covers the basalt plateaus, turning the rugged landscape into a shimmering white expanse. The silence of the high altitude is deep and grounding, broken only by the occasional sound of a distant waterfall freezing into a crystal spire. It is a place of vast horizons and mountain stillness, where the stars feel close enough to touch. Descending from the heights, we find the small, verdant kingdom of Eswatini. In the quiet valleys of this land, there is a tradition of artistry that mirrors the patience of the earth itself. At the Ngwenya glass works, red-colored glass is melted in glowing furnaces and transformed by the steady, rhythmic breath of master glass blowers. They shape the molten liquid into delicate figurines of elephants, rhinos, and birds, capturing the spirit of the African wilderness in translucent green and amber. The process is slow and deliberate, a testament to the beauty that can be found in things once discarded, now reborn into shapes of light and grace. Moving northeast, the coastline softens as we enter the warm, turquoise embrace of Mozambique. Along the shores of the Bazaruto archipelago, the Indian Ocean is clear and calm, revealing a hidden world of vibrant coral reefs beneath the surface. These underwater gardens are teeming with life, yet they possess a quiet, weightless tranquility. Rare dugongs glide slowly through the seagrass meadows, and sea turtles drift effortlessly on the gentle currents. The sand on the beaches is as white and fine as powdered sugar, cool to the touch as the sun begins to set, casting long violet shadows over the swaying palm trees. The sound of the water lapping against the shore is a steady, soothing heartbeat, a lullaby from the sea as we look out across the vast, shimmering expanse of the Indian Ocean. The mainland begins to fade into the distance. The salt air carries the faint, sweet scent of tropical blooms from far-off shores. We leave the coast behind, drifting over the deep blue waters toward a cluster of emerald gems scattered across the sea, where unique creatures and ancient forests wait in the quiet of the island night. The waves below us are vast and deep, a rhythmic pulse of dark blue that carries us further away from the mainland. We are heading toward a world where time seems to slow down, where life has taken its own peculiar and beautiful paths on isolated shores. The air is cool and moist, smelling of salt and distant blooming flowers. First, we reach the great red island, Madagascar. It is a world unto itself, a mini-continent that drifted away from the rest of the world 80 million years ago. In the canopy of the ancient silver-barked baobab trees, the lemurs stir softly. These creatures, found nowhere else on earth, are the gentle spirits of the forest, There are over 100 different types, from the tiny mouse lemur, small enough to fit in the palm of a hand, to the ring-tailed lemurs that sit in quiet contemplation as the sun sets. Their large amber eyes reflect the moonlight, and their movements through the branches are light and deliberate. Because of their long isolation, the island has become a sanctuary for evolution's most unique ideas, a quiet, red earth kingdom where nature has been allowed to dream in peace. Further east, across the turquoise expanse, the volcanic peaks of Mauritius rise from the sea. This was once the only home of the dodo, a bird that lived in such perfect safety that it never learned the need for flight. While the dodo is now a memory, the island remains a place of profound stillness. The earth here is unique. In the Chamarel Plain, the soil settles into 7 distinct colors: reds, purples, and ochres, swirled together by ancient volcanic activity. These dunes never erode, even in the tropical rain, standing as a silent, colorful record of the island's fiery birth. The air is soft and carries the faint, sweet scent of sugarcane and the salt of the Indian Ocean. To the north lie the Seychelles, a scattering of granite and coral gems. On the beaches of La Digue, massive boulders of smooth, pinkish-gray granite stand like ancient guardians against the tide. Unlike most islands formed by volcanoes, these are fragments of an ancient supercontinent weathered by millions of years of wind and water into soft, rounded shapes. They feel warm and solid, grounding the islands in a history that stretches back to the dawn of the earth. The water that laps against these stones is so clear it seems invisible, a liquid glass that cradles the shore in a rhythmic, whispered lullaby. As we drift toward the Comoros, the air begins to change. These are the Perfume Isles, where the night air is heavy and sweet with the scent of ylang-ylang. The yellow star-shaped flowers bloom in the dark, releasing a fragrance that is creamy and deeply relaxing. It is a scent that fills the valleys and drifts out over the waves, a natural aromatherapy that slows the heart and clears the mind. Imagine the scent wrapping around you like a soft silk blanket, easing you into a state of total rest as the stars twinkle above the dark volcanic craters. Now, we begin a long, silent journey. We leave the warmth of these islands behind, rising high above the clouds where the air is still and calm. We travel west, crossing the vastness of the African continent once more, and then out over the Atlantic. The ocean below is an endless expanse of dark velvet, moving in slow, rhythmic swells that mirror the pace of a deep breath. The flight is long, but you are safe and comfortable, nestled in the quiet of this journey. We are crossing the Great Divide, moving away from the islands of the East toward the vast, diverse landscapes of North America. The stars move slowly across the sky as we glide through the night, the world below a peaceful, dark mystery, until the distant shimmering lights of a new coastline begin to appear on the horizon. As we cross the threshold of the North American continent, we find ourselves hovering over the majestic, frozen expanse of Greenland. This is a world of white and deep crystalline blue, where an ice sheet over 2 miles thick covers nearly the entire landmass. It is a place of profound ancient silence. Within this ice are tiny bubbles of air trapped tens of thousands of years ago, preserving the atmosphere of a world long past. Imagine the weight of this ice, pressing down on the bedrock with such immense force that parts of the island's center have actually sunk below sea level. The air here is the purest you will ever breathe, sharp-killed and utterly still, carrying only the faint, distant sound of the wind sculpting the snow into soft, rolling waves. Moving south, the white of the north softens into the deep emerald greens and sapphire blues of Canada. This is a land defined by its relationship with water. Canada holds more lakes than the rest of the world combined. Millions of them are scattered like jewels across the rugged terrain of the Canadian Shield. Imagine standing on the shore of a quiet lake in the twilight. The water is so still it becomes a perfect mirror, reflecting the first few stars and the dark, jagged silhouettes of spruce trees. There is a sense of infinite room to breathe here, a vastness that stretches out in every direction, inviting you to let go of any small worries and simply exist in the quiet of the wilderness. Continuing our journey, we enter the United States, a land where nature has been held in sacred trust through its vast system of national parks. From the misty, moss-covered cathedrals of the Olympic Peninsula to the fiery red arches of Utah, these lands are preserved in their most primal state. Imagine walking through a grove of giant sequoias in the Sierra Nevada. These trees are some of the oldest living things on Earth, their massive trunks reaching up toward the heavens like pillars of a great temple. The air is cool and smells of damp earth and ancient wood. Your footsteps are swallowed by the soft forest floor, and the only sound is the gentle rustle of a breeze high in the canopy, hundreds of feet above. It is a place where time seems to slow down, harmonizing with the slow, steady heartbeat of the trees. As the air grows warmer and more fragrant, we reach the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Here, the earth hides its greatest secrets beneath the jungle floor in the form of cenotes. These are natural limestone sinkholes filled with cool, fresh groundwater that has been filtered through the stone for centuries. Imagine descending into one of these hidden caverns. The air is pleasantly cool, a welcome respite from the tropical heat. Above, a circular opening in the limestone ceiling allows a single, soft beam of sunlight to filter down, illuminating the turquoise water with a celestial glow. The water is so clear, it seems to disappear, and as you float in its gentle embrace, you feel completely weightless, cradled by the earth itself. Take a slow, deep breath in and let it out even slower. Feel the coolness of the air on your skin, a refreshing touch that settles your mind. The world is vast, filled with wonders both great and small, and you are safe within its reach. We leave the wide expanses of the north behind now, moving toward the narrow, vibrant bridge of land that connects the north to the south. The landscape is beginning to transform into a lush green corridor as we drift toward the Central American Isthmus, where the mountains rise to meet the clouds and the air begins to hum with the life of the tropics. As we cross the threshold into Central America, the land begins to narrow, squeezed between two great oceans. Our first stop is the coast of Belize, home to the second largest barrier reef in the world. Imagine looking down from high above at the Great Blue Hole, a perfectly circular abyss of deep midnight blue set within a ring of turquoise shallows. It is a massive underwater sinkhole over 400 feet deep where the water is still and silent. Within its depths, ancient stalactites hang like frozen curtains from a time when the cave was dry. The transition from the light, sun-drenched surface to the dark, cool mystery of the depths is a reminder of the many layers of our world, each one quiet and waiting. Moving inland, we reach the highlands of Guatemala, where the horizon is defined by the elegant silhouettes of over 30 volcanoes. Some of these peaks reach high into the cool, thin air, their summits often draped in a soft veil of clouds. At the foot of these giants lies Lake Atitlan, often called one of the most beautiful lakes in the world. The water is a deep, reflective sapphire, cradled by 3 towering volcanic cones. In the early morning, a gentle mist rolls off the water, blurring the lines between the earth and the sky. Quiet. It is a place of profound stillness, where the only sound is the soft lap of water against the volcanic shore. Further south, in the lush river valleys of Honduras, the air is filled with the vibrant flashes of the scarlet macaw. These magnificent birds, with their brilliant red, yellow, and blue feathers, are a symbol of the region's untamed beauty. Imagine resting in the shade of a massive mahogany tree, hearing the rhythmic beat of their wings as they glide through the emerald canopy. They are the guardians of the ancient ruins of Copan, where stone carvings of long-ago kings are slowly being reclaimed by the moss and the vines, returning to the earth in a slow, peaceful embrace. In El Salvador, the land of volcanoes, we find ourselves wandering through high-altitude coffee forests. Unlike many farms, these coffee plants grow in the cool shade of native trees, creating a layered ecosystem that feels more like a wild woodland than a plantation. The air here is sweet with the scent of white coffee blossoms, a fragrance that is light and airy like jasmine. As you walk through the dappled sunlight, the temperature is perfectly mild, and the rustle of the leaves overhead creates a natural lullaby that invites you to pause and breathe deeply. Crossing into Nicaragua, we encounter a geographical marvel, Lake Nicaragua, a vast inland sea so large it has its own waves and even its own sharks. It is one of the few places on Earth where bull sharks have adapted to live in fresh water, swimming hundreds of miles up the San Juan River to reach the lake. In the center of this water rise the twin peaks of Ometepe Island, 2 volcanoes joined by a narrow strip of land. The lake is a world unto itself, a peaceful expanse of water where the sun sets in a blaze of orange and purple, casting long shadows over the volcanic slopes. We then drift into the verdant heart of Costa Rica, a country that has dedicated itself to the protection of life in all its forms. Though it is small, it holds nearly 5% of all the world's biodiversity. Imagine the Monteverde cloud forest, where the air is perpetually moist and cool, and every branch is draped in thick green moss and delicate orchids. Here, time is measured by the slow, deliberate movements of a 3-toed sloth as it navigates the canopy. The forest is alive with the gentle hum of hummingbirds and the distant muffled call of a howler monkey. Sounds that blend into a rich textured silence that wraps around you like a warm blanket. Finally, we reach the narrowest point of the isthmus in Panama. This is a land of unique geometry, where the curve of the continent creates a beautiful paradox. In certain parts of the country, because of the way the land twists, you can stand on a beach and watch the sun rise over the Pacific Ocean. It is a quiet, golden moment, watching the light break over the vast western waters from a place that feels like the very edge of the world. The engineering marvel of the canal nearby hums with a steady, low mechanical rhythm, a testament to human ingenuity resting quietly alongside the ancient, wild jungle. The air is changing now, becoming saltier and lighter as we turn our gaze away from the mainland. The dense greens of the jungle are giving way to the infinite blues of the sea. We are leaving the bridge of the Americas behind, floating out across the warm, clear waters toward the scattered jewels of the Caribbean islands, where the tide dictates the pace of life and the sand is as soft as a dream. The transition from the mainland to the islands is like drifting from a dense, heavy dream into one of pure, weightless light. We glide over the Bahamas, an archipelago where the water is perhaps the clearest on our entire planet. From high above, the sea looks like a sheet of turquoise glass so transparent that the shadows of tiny boats rest on the white sandy floor as if they are floating in midair. This clarity is a gift of the unique geography. Because there are no rivers to carry sediment into the ocean, the water remains pristine and crystalline. You can see the intricate patterns of the sand ripples far below, a silent underwater desert that shifts ever so slowly with the rhythmic pulse of the tides. Further west, we find the island of Cuba, where the landscape takes on a soft, ancient shape. In the Vinales Valley, the earth rises in great, rounded limestone hills known as mogotes. These steep-sided domes are covered in lush green vegetation, looking like emerald pillows scattered across a flat, red-earthed valley. In the early morning, a gentle mist often clings to the base of these hills, making them appear as though they are floating on a sea of white clouds. It is a place where time seems to have paused, allowing the limestone to weather into these unique, gentle curves over millions of years. Moving toward the island of Hispaniola, we look up at the rugged peaks of Haiti. High atop the Bonnet à l'Évêque mountain sits the Citadelle La Ferrière, a massive stone fortress that watches over the land. Built with an incredible amount of human effort and stone, it now stands in a state of quiet majesty, often shrouded in the same clouds that feed the mountain forests below. The air here is thin and cool, a sharp contrast to the tropical warmth of the coast, offering a moment of high-altitude stillness that feels both ancient and protective. On the eastern side of the same island, in the Dominican Republic, the focus returns to the sea. Each winter, the warm, sheltered waters of Samana Bay become a sanctuary for thousands of North Atlantic humpback whales. These gentle giants travel thousands of miles to these quiet waters to give birth and nurse their young. If you were to listen beneath the surface, you would hear their long, complex songs, low, haunting melodies that vibrate through the water for miles. It is a slow, rhythmic communication that has echoed through the oceans for eons, a soothing heartbeat for the deep. We drift south toward Jamaica, where the blue mountains rise into the sky. They earn their name from a delicate, ethereal blue haze that settles over the peaks. This phenomenon is caused by the way sunlight scatters through the humid air and the oils released by the dense forests, creating a soft indigo veil that softens the edges of the world. It is a place of deep shadows and cool breezes, where the scent of wild blossoms drifts on the wind, inviting a sense of profound peace as the clouds brush against the emerald slopes. At the eastern edge of the Caribbean lies Barbados, the land of the flying fish. In the deep blue waters surrounding the island, these silver-scaled creatures leap from the waves, spreading their wing-like pectoral fins to glide over the surface for hundreds of feet. They look like shimmering sparks of light dancing between the air and the sea, a brief, graceful escape from the world below before they slip back into the cool, dark water with barely a splash. The island chain begins to taper off now, and the vast, dark blue of the open ocean stretches out before us once more. But soon, a new horizon begins to form. A massive, solid line of green and gold rising from the southern waves. We are approaching the great South American continent, a land of soaring peaks, ancient rivers, and endless forests. The air is growing warmer and more humid again as we prepare to touch down on this new soil, beginning our journey into the wild, majestic heart of the South. As we leave the shimmering turquoise of the Caribbean behind, the air begins to change, growing heavier and more fragrant with the scent of damp earth and blooming life. We have reached the northern shores of South America, a land of deep greens and ancient rhythms. In Colombia, the earth seems to breathe through its flowers. This country is home to more orchid species than anywhere else on the planet, with over 4,000 varieties tucked away in its misty cloud forests and humid valleys. Imagine these delicate blooms, their petals like soft silk in shades of deep violet, burnt orange, and pristine white. Some are so small they could rest on a raindrop, while others are large and ornate, hanging like jewels from the mossy branches of ancient trees. They grow in a quiet, patient rhythm, undisturbed by the world, swaying gently in the cool mountain breeze. Further to the east, the landscape rises into the mysterious, flat-topped mountains of Venezuela known as Tepuas. These are some of the oldest geological formations on Earth, islands of stone frozen in time. From the edge of Auyan Tepui, the water of Angel Falls begins its long, graceful descent. It is the tallest, uninterrupted waterfall in the world, falling nearly a kilometer through the open air. Because the drop is so immense, much of the water dissolves into a fine, ethereal mist long before it reaches the pool below. It creates a soft, perpetual rain that blankets the jungle in a cool shroud of silver, a silent curtain of white against the dark, ancient rock that has stood for millions of years. In the heart of the neighboring Guyana, the water finds a different, more powerful path at Kaieteur Falls. Here, the Potaro River, wide and deep, suddenly drops over a sandstone cliff into a great gorge. Unlike the misty vale of Angel Falls, Kaieteur is a thundering wall of water, one of the most powerful on the planet. Yet, from a distance, its roar softens into a deep rhythmic hum, a low-frequency vibration that resonates through the soles of your feet. It is the steady, grounding heartbeat of the continent, a reminder of the raw and beautiful power of nature when left entirely to its own devices. Moving along the coast, we find Suriname, a land that remains one of the greenest places on our planet. More than 90% of its territory is covered in primary, untouched rainforest. Imagine a canopy so thick and vast that it stretches to the horizon in every direction, a deep emerald sea of leaves that absorbs the golden sunlight and breathes out cool, oxygen-rich air. The silence here is rich and layered, filled with the soft rustle of the canopy and the distant melodic calls of creatures hidden deep within the shadows, all living in a perfect, undisturbed harmony. In French Guiana, this ancient wilderness meets the edge of the infinite. Near the coast, the Guyana Space Center serves as a gateway to the stars. It is a peaceful juxtaposition, the dense, humid jungle teeming with life, situated just miles from the launch pads where rockets rise silently into the dark velvet of the night sky. When there are no launches, the area returns to a state of profound quiet, where the only lights are the stars reflecting in the still coastal waters, bridging the gap between the ancient earth and the vast unknown. We turn our journey west once more, crossing back toward the Pacific, to reach the Galapagos Islands of Ecuador. Here, time seems to slow to the pace of the giant tortoises. These ancient creatures can live for well over a century, moving with deliberate, unhurried grace across the volcanic soil. To watch a tortoise move is to learn the art of patience. They carry their homes upon their backs, their breathing slow and steady, their eyes reflecting a long history of peace. They are a living testament to the beauty of a slow life, undisturbed and protected by the surrounding sea. As we leave the islands behind, we return to the mainland, where the great spine of the Andes begins to loom large on the horizon. The peaks are dusted with white, rising like silent, jagged sentinels above the green valleys of the north. We begin to follow this rocky path, climbing higher into the thin, crisp air where the world feels still and the stars feel close enough to touch as we head further south into the heart of the mountains. As we continue our descent along the rugged spine of the Andes, we find ourselves high in the mist-shrouded peaks of Peru. Here, the ancient stones of Machu Picchu sit in quiet contemplation, perched on a narrow ridge between two mountains. The craftsmanship of the Inca is so precise that even now, centuries later, you cannot fit a single blade of grass between the massive granite blocks. There is a profound stillness in this high-altitude sanctuary, where the only sound is the soft whistle of the wind through the doorways and the distant rush of the Urubamba River far below in the valley. It is a place where the past feels present, held in the cool embrace of the clouds. Traveling further south across the high plateau, we reach the Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia, the largest salt flat on Earth. Imagine 10,000 square kilometers of pure, brilliant white. During the dry season, the ground is a mosaic of salt crusts, stretching toward the horizon in every direction. But when a thin layer of water covers the surface, it transforms into the world's largest mirror. The sky reflects so perfectly on the ground that you feel as though you are floating in a vast blue void, suspended between the clouds above and the clouds below. It is a landscape of absolute silence, a place where the ego dissolves into the infinite white space. Eastward, the mountains give way to the sprawling basin of the Amazon. In Brazil, the great river flows with a slow, unstoppable momentum. The Amazon carries more water than any other river on the planet, a massive artery of life that sustains millions of species. To sit on its banks at dusk is to witness a symphony of shadows. The water is dark and deep, hiding ancient mysteries beneath its surface, while the canopy above hums with the soft, rhythmic buzzing of the evening forest. It is the lungs of our world, breathing in and out with a steady, leafy pulse. In the heart of the continent, we encounter the quiet power of Paraguay. Here, the Itaipu Dam stands as a monument to human cooperation and the raw force of nature. The water falls through massive turbines with a deep subterranean thrum, generating enough electricity to light up entire cities. It is a clean, humming energy, a reminder of how the movement of water can be transformed into a gentle glow that warms our homes and keeps the night at bay. Our path leads us toward the gentle coast of Uruguay, where the land softens into rolling hills and sandy shores. At the mouth of the Rio de la Plata, the fresh river water meets the salt of the Atlantic in a slow, swirling dance. The beaches here are wide and peaceful, the waves lapping against the shore with a rhythmic consistency that mimics the pace of a sleeping breath. It is a place to walk slowly, feeling the cool cetron between your toes and the salt spray on your skin. Crossing back toward the west, we enter the Atacama Desert in Chile, the driest non-polar place on Earth. In some parts of this desert, rain has never been recorded in human history. Because the air is so incredibly dry and clear, the night sky here is unlike anywhere else. As the sun sets, the stars emerge in their billions, so bright and numerous that they cast soft shadows on the desert floor. To look up here is to peer into the very heart of the galaxy, a silent, glittering reminder of our place among the constellations. Finally, we reach the southern tip of the continent, the wild beauty of Argentine Patagonia. Here, the Perito Moreno Glacier stands as a towering wall of crystalline blue ice. It is a living, moving thing, a frozen river that inches forward every day. Every so often, the silence of the frozen wilderness is broken by a deep, resonant crack like a distant thunderclap as a massive shard of ice breaks away and splashes into the cold, turquoise water below. It is a slow, majestic process, a reminder of the Earth's ancient rhythms. Now we stand at the very edge of the land, where the wind smells of salt and the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean begins. The water stretches out before us, a deep and endless blue that holds the promise of distant shores. We prepare to leave the mainland behind, drifting out over the waves, following the setting sun towards the final frontier of our journey, the scattered islands and ancient landscapes of Oceania. We glide now over the immense rhythmic swells of the Pacific, leaving the rugged cliffs of South America behind. The ocean below is a deep, dark indigo, holding the secrets of the abyss in its cool embrace. As we drift westward, the air grows warmer, carrying the faint, sweet scent of salt and tropical blooms. We are approaching the vast and scattered beauty of Oceania, a realm of emerald islands and ancient seafaring spirits. Our first stop is the Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia. Imagine drifting just beneath the surface of the clear turquoise water. This is the world's largest living structure, so massive it can be seen from the moon, yet it is built by tiny, delicate creatures. The reef is a silent, submerged city of coral where gardens of branching staghorn and rounded brain coral provide a quiet sanctuary for thousands of species. The water here moves with a gentle, swaying pulse, a slow-motion dance of light and shadow that lulls the mind into a state of perfect calm. Further south, we find the fjords of New Zealand's South Island. In places like Milford Sound, the mountains rise straight out of the dark, still water, their peaks often shrouded in a soft white mist. These dramatic landscapes were carved by ancient glaciers, leaving behind a profound silence that seems to echo through the valleys. Waterfalls thin as silver threads tumble down 1,000-foot cliffs, disappearing into the depths with a hushed, melodic murmur. It is a place of primordial stillness, where the earth seems to be holding its breath. To the north lies the rugged island of New Guinea. In the dense, mist-covered highlands of Papua New Guinea, the terrain is so fractured by deep valleys and soaring peaks that communities remained isolated for thousands of years. This isolation created the greatest linguistic diversity on the planet, with over 800 distinct languages spoken across the island. It is a reminder of the incredible variety of the human experience, a rich tapestry of stories and songs woven into the very fabric of the jungle. We continue our journey to the islands of Fiji, often called the soft coral capital of the world. Beneath the waves, the reefs are an explosion of pastel colors, pinks, oranges, and purples, vibrant yet soothing to the eye. The currents here are gentle, carrying nutrients to the delicate polyps that bloom like flowers in a hidden garden. Nearby, in the islands of Samoa, the inland rainforests hide spectacular waterfalls like Afu-Au, where the water spills into a deep emerald pool surrounded by ferns and moss. The sound is a steady white noise that masks the worries of the world, inviting you to simply exist in the present moment. As we reach the remote islands of Kiribati, we find ourselves at the edge of time itself. The Line Islands of Kiribati are among the first places on Earth to see the light of a new day. Here, the vastness of the sky meets the vastness of the sea, and the boundaries of yesterday and tomorrow blur into a single peaceful horizon. It is a place where the clock slows down, and the only rhythm that matters is the rising and falling of the tides. Our long journey across the continents and oceans is drawing to a close. We have seen the frozen tundra of the north, the golden deserts of the east, the lush heart of the tropics, and the high, thin air of the world's great peaks. We have traveled through time and space, discovering that every corner of our planet is connected by the same air, the same water, and the same steady heartbeat of nature. The world is a single, breathing entity, and you are a part of its quiet rhythm. As you lie here, safe and warm, know that the earth continues its slow rotation, the stars continue their silent transit, and everything is exactly as it should be. The landscapes we visited are now just soft memories, drifting like clouds across the landscape of your mind. Let your breathing become even slower now. Feel the weight of your body supported by the earth beneath you. The journey is over, and it is time to rest. You have traveled far, and you have earned this peace. The world is quiet, the lights are dim, the air is cool and still. May your dreams be as vast and beautiful as the world we have explored together. Sleep deeply and wake refreshed when the sun eventually finds its way back to your window. For now, there is only the silence, the warmth, and the gentle pull of sleep. Good night. Good night.